Hello, homies. Welcome to our 300th episode. I was really excited and also a little bit apprehensive recording it. I thought I had another couple of weeks up my sleeve, but then I decided to make life hard for myself, which inevitably I like to do, it seems. And I squeezed in a couple of bonus episodes, which meant that the 300th episode jumped earlier a couple of weeks. So I had to sit down and think of what I am going to talk to you about. What I do want to do, though, is firstly just dedicate this episode to my beautiful mother, Adelaide, who passed away on the 3rd of May this year, so just about 6 weeks ago. She was one of a kind, and you can have a look on my socials to see a tribute with some images which I shared about her. I miss her so much every single day, but I know she's right here with me every step of the way. I also want to dedicate this 300th episode to you. Yes, you. Thank you so much for allowing me to hang out in your ear holes. It's an incredible honor, and I really appreciate it with all my heart. Now, usually I record the donation thank yous in a separate section, and then my lovely editor Margie pops it at the front of a new episode. But today I am just going to work the thank yous into this episode. So a really huge thank you to the following homies who have donated to help keep this podcast free to air for everyone to enjoy. So thank you Priya Prakash, Ali Grover, Therese Cosgrove, Lisa Paul, Ella Walter, Ambika Waters, Brian Delfield, Petra Martinez, Francie Rubin, Helen Margaret, Alan Pollock, Angelica Lemke, Ishara, Ren Lloyd, Paul Terrio, and Maria Chick. Thank you so much to each and every single one of you for taking the time to donate to the podcast. It makes such a huge difference. And every time I pay my editor's bill and I'm able to use the money that you have donated instead of it coming out of my own pocket, it really means so much to me. So if anyone else would like to donate, feel free to visit www.eugeniekruger.com and just click on the donate button up at the top. So welcome to our 300th episode. I can't help but reflecting back on the past 3 years that the podcast has been running. We had a huge party here in Perth for our 100th episode and for our 200th episode. But I have to admit, I just didn't have the energy for it this year. A couple of weeks ago, we did hit the milestone of 500,000 downloads. So myself, my husband, and our team went out for a lovely breakfast, though. And we did a live draw on Instagram while we were having breakfast for the winner of my podcasting microphone and boom stand, which was Lisa Paul, who actually has donated to the podcast quite a few times. So I was really excited to see her win. It was, you can see the draw, it was all done live, so nothing was rigged. But I won't lie, I was happy to see her win because she has donated several times, like just amount here and there, and it all adds up. So it was really cool to see her win. Thank you so much, Lisa. And thank you so much to everybody else who has donated to the podcast as well. I hope you're enjoying your mic, Lisa. So truth be told, I do actually have 2 of the exact same mics and boom stands. One was at the clinic and one was home, which is just as well because to celebrate 500,000 downloads, I treated myself to buying a new microphone and boom stand that's exactly the same one as what Joe Rogan has. But when it arrived, I realized it has an XLR cable, so it doesn't plug into my laptop like my old one did. And then it turns out I needed another piece of hardware for the XLR cable called a audio interface. And then once that arrived, I realized I need a 1/4-inch TRS adapter so that my headphones can plug into the audio interface. And so just in case you're fooled into thinking I have any idea of what I'm talking about, I really don't. I have just been watching YouTube videos all day to try and figure out how to get this thing up. So it's taken me 2 hours, but I have finally figured out how to set up the microphone through this audio interface and then have it connected to GarageBand. We are so incredibly lucky in this age of information to be able to learn anything we want online for free in many cases, meaning none of the barriers to entry exist anymore, and all you need is an entrepreneurial spirit and some perseverance to make your dreams come true. So I don't think it would be fitting to do a 300th episode without acknowledging the lovely Kelly Callahan, the host of the 1M podcast. I've mentioned it on the show before, but Kelly was my inspiration for starting this podcast. We moved to some acreage at the start of 2020, and it meant that I had a 110-kilometer return drive every day to and from the clinic. And that's when I found out about this thing called podcasts, and I started listening to them obsessively. So I have an unquenchable thirst for knowledge, which made a bit more sense after finding out that apparently I'm a projector in human design, which means that my need for constantly learning is excessive, which works really well when you have a podcast. I'm still learning about human design. It is actually really interesting, but I thought this paragraph summed me up quite well. So it says about projectors that they are our guides, often driving us to new, better, improved, and more efficient ways of doing things. Their wisdom comes from seeing others, a system, or a concept in a new way. So this is exactly what I'm hoping to achieve with this podcast. And recently I was a speaker on Homeo Summit, and the title of my talk was Challenging the Status Quo in Homeopathy, which I thought was quite funny considering I had the talk mapped out long before I knew about my human design. So I feel that after 300 episodes, I've finally come to realize what my role is in the homeopathic community, and that is to continue bringing you new ideas and information from around the world and hopefully challenge you to broaden your horizons at the same time, while I myself am growing right alongside all of you. So back to my long drives. After listening to all of Kelly Callahan's episodes and all of Joette Calabrese's and Sue Mayer's podcast episodes, it finally dawned on me that I have a few things I might want to say as well. Maybe I should start my own podcast. So even though I used to work on an internet help desk 25 years ago, I'm actually not very IT savvy, but I am very stubborn. So if I want to do something, I will usually find a way. As much as YouTube annoys me after giving me 2 strikes and banning me from posting new content twice, 3 months at a time, due to apparent medical misinformation, YouTube is a great platform for learning new skills. So I simply searched how to start a podcast. I learned how to use GarageBand, how to edit, upload and schedule episodes, how to write show notes, and so much more. In only the 3 short years that I've been podcasting, so much has changed with the advent of AI, and incredibly, some of our editing can now be done with AI, mostly in reducing spaces in conversations and removing some of the ums and ahs, as well as smoothing out the audio, writing show notes, and creating timestamps, which 3 years ago, I'd have to put through a separate piece of software to ensure both speakers have their audio on the same level, some of the background noise is reduced, and it would take forever to do the timestamps and the show notes. So it's been quite incredible to see how the podcasting world has changed in such a short period of time. And one of the best things ever was to get my lovely podcast editor, Margie, on board probably about 18 months ago or so now. I'm trying to think, but it's been a while. But yeah, thank you so much, Margie, for everything that you've done. It is so great that I just get to record the episodes, upload them, and Margie does all the rest. Margie has actually since gone on to also edit podcast episodes for a few other homeopaths, so that is really exciting as well. So about 3 years ago, there was only a handful of homeopathy podcasts, whereas these days we have dozens, which is really great as everyone has a different flavor. And I think it's important that we have enough of a variety of content out there for everyone to resonate with. And while I'm busy celebrating milestones, I just want to mention that the Homeopathy Hangout podcast popped into the top 1.5% of all podcasts in the world a few months ago. So Joe Rogan is in the top 0.01%, so I still have a long way to go. But I'll be lying if I say I'm not on listennotes.com at least once a week to check the podcast rating. I never in my wildest dreams ever thought I'd have a top 1.5% podcast. It's totally surreal. And the truth is that it is only due to every single one of you listening that I get to celebrate this milestone. So a huge thank you to each and every one of you who have listened to the podcast and shared it with your family and friends. Also, a massive thank you to all of you who have given me a 5-star rating on whichever app you're listening to on this. Last time I checked, there were about 50 of the 5-star ratings on Apple and 121 on Spotify. A huge thank you once again to all of you who have also financially donated to the show. It really means the world to me. And every time I get a donation to help pay my editor, instead of it coming out of my own pocket, I literally do a happy dance. Speaking of Spotify, I am in the process of moving from my current podcast host over to Spotify. And the reason for that is that Spotify gives you the ability to offer video podcasting, which means that those of you who listen to the podcast through Spotify will be able to watch the video at the same time if you choose, kind of Joe Rogan styles. So for anyone who doesn't use Spotify, don't worry at all. The new hosting won't affect how and where you listen to the show. And just so you know, you can listen to Spotify on a free account, so you don't need to have the paid version. But yes, for those of you who listen on different platforms, you don't have to worry. You won't even know that I'm on a new platform. It's just things that will be changing in the back end. I also thought I'd have a chat with you about some of the things that I've been learning about since having the podcast that's made a really big impact on me. And funny enough, it's got nothing to do with homeopathy. In episode 151 of the podcast, we had Dr. Shireen Lim on the show, who wrote a book called Breathe, Sleep, Thrive. It's about the importance of having good airway health and how that flows on to pretty much every other aspect of our lives. Dr. Lim has a great visual in her book which shows the difference in surface area of a narrow versus a wide palate. And considering our nasal structures rest on the roof of our palate, if we have a narrow palate, there's going to be less airflow through our nasal structures versus if our nasal structures are resting on a nice wide palate. So just seeing that visual really triggered something in me and created a bit of an aha moment. So we need to ask the question, what will ensure that we have a wide palate? And some of the things that really help with that is breastfeeding for as long as possible, not giving too many purees to your children, but instead getting them to chew on foods, especially more tougher foods like meat. And something which unfortunately has become so socially accepted that you have to be careful speaking about it because people can get quite, can get their backs up about this. But that's the topic of dummies or pacifiers. They really promote the forward development of the jaw instead of that nice wide jaw development because of the muscles that are used in the cheeks to suck on the dummy. It doesn't help that there are some studies saying that dummy sucking has been linked to reduced cases of sudden infant death syndrome, which means some parents think they're doing a good thing by making their child suck on a piece of rubber or plastic for hours at a time. That study sounds suspiciously to me like cover-up masked as a distraction to avoid people looking into the true reasons behind SIDS, which I won't go into here. It does involve needles. I won't go into it because YouTube might give me another strike for apparent medical misinformation. And because I'm on my last warning before they remove my channel, I'll just keep quiet about it. But I'm sure you can probably put the pieces together that sudden infant death syndrome doesn't have to do with whether you are sucking or not sucking on a dummy. So there's more information on this fascinating topic in episode 270 of the podcast with Natasha Duffin, where we elaborate a bit more about the discussion that Dr. Lim and I had in episode 151. One of the big flow-on effects of poor airway health is that it can lead to symptoms which may present similar to ADHD due to the brain not getting properly oxygenated while you're sleeping. I did a post on this on my socials recently, which I then shared in a mother's group, to share about how dummy sucking affects the jaw and the palate development, which leads to poor airway health, which then leads to symptoms of ADHD. And I wasn't quite ready for how many mums were triggered by this, which I found really interesting. Personally, if I'm unknowingly doing something which may not be beneficial to my child's health, I would want to know about it. I do get it that some people get personally offended if you offer helpful advice and that they might feel attacked if I mention something like dummies that could be linked to ADHD. And they might not understand the link of how you got there and feel bad about it and feel triggered by that. But it is so important to get the information out there. So yeah, please do share that information with your family and friends. I just feel that if we can get a bit more information out there about the harm that dummies and pacifiers and thumb sucking are doing to the development of our children's jaw and palate, which in turn has this flow-on effect on so many things, speech, airway health, and so much more, then surely that's worth speaking about. Combined with this, if we can pick up early that a child does not have correct resting tongue position, then this too is going to help expand the palate and help with speech. Being aware of something this simple means that when clients bring their kitties to me in clinic for a consult, I always keep an eye on where their child is placing their tongue while they're playing. So often I'll see kitties with their mouths open and the tongues hanging out, and as parents we don't get taught that this is something that we need to look out for. Obviously enlarged tonsils can also play a part in this, and I usually do a quick check of the tonsils in the clinic as well. When I see kitties breathing through their mouth with their tongues not in the correct position, I send them off to an orofacial myofunctional specialist like Tash Duffin. We have another lady here in Perth from Developmental Dental called Beck that's also really good with us. And while I'm on this topic, please be sure to check your children at night and make sure they're sleeping with their mouths closed. Not only does this help to properly oxygenate the brain while you're sleeping, but it's also important for your dental health because the anaerobic bacteria in your mouth can thrive if there is no saliva. The last few months I've discovered a wonderful probiotic called Biome Dental. It is a practitioner-only product with clinically proven strains that help to prevent and heal dental decay. It's a small sachet with xylitol and 4 proven strains of beneficial oral probiotics. You pour the sachet in your mouth last thing at night after brushing your teeth, and then you mix it with your saliva and you make sure it coats your whole mouth, and then you go to sleep without eating or drinking anything else so that the good bacteria can form their colonies in your mouth while you're sleeping. It's great for children as well as adults, and you can always email my clinic for more information. So info@eugeniekruger.com. Something else that's really come to the forefront of my mind recently is the huge role that biotoxicity and specifically mold plays in the symptom picture of chronic illness, which we see in our clinics on a daily basis. Friday's episode 299 with Dr. Terry Fox, shed some light on this important topic of mold. As I've become more aware of the role that mold play in our clients' health, I've been using the Polyfungi Plus Detox much more, which is a combination remedy created by Ren Lloyd and PS11. Mold illness is the underlying reason for so much chronic disease, and very few practitioners are aware of the huge impact this can have on our health. So if you haven't already, scroll back one episode and listen to my interview with Dr. Terry Fox. A hot tip I can give you is to go to www.vcstest.com. It stands for Visual Contrast Sensitivity Test.com, and do the online test to see if mold could be the cause of your chronic headaches, hay fever symptoms, sinusitis, joint pains, weight gain, weight loss, and so much more. So for me, looking at the months ahead, I have a few things up my sleeve. The first is the Bali Conference, which I'm organizing in September this year, along with Marcus Fernandez, Sarah Valentini, and Ren Lloyd. I am ridiculously excited about this because so many of the amazing homeopaths I've interviewed over the past 3 years will be joining us in this one-of-a-kind 3-day event. A couple of our attendees have had some personal things come up, so that's meant that they're not able to join us anymore. So I think there's maybe 2 or 3 tickets still up for grabs if anyone wants to come and join us. And then straight after Bali, Danitza Appeline is flying back with me to Perth because she is hosting a incredible, magical 2-day workshop in person here in Perth called Superhuman. If you want to learn more about this, you can go to danitzaappelinematic.com and just click on courses and then click on Superhuman. It is going to be amazing. So some of the other projects that I'm working on creating are various online courses. I know it's a bit of a thing at the moment, but I figure I've got to add my stamp in there as well. After all the positive feedback I've received after my talk on Homeo Summit, especially the section in the talk where I spoke about creating combination remedies, I've decided that I would like to put together a course teaching homeopaths how to create their own combination remedies. I used to be the biggest skeptic of combination remedies, and it wasn't until a few years ago that I started trying some combinations for myself and I had great results. And then I started getting more and more requests from clients to make various combination remedies to the point where I have now personally created over 100 combination remedies. Initially, I considered selling my combination remedies as medicating potencies to interested homeopaths, but I've always been somebody who prefers to teach somebody how to fish rather than to give them a fish. So with that in mind, do keep an eye out for my DIY RX course, so do-it-yourself remedies, where I'll be teaching you how I create my own combination remedies and teach you how you can create your own as well. My clever husband has already created a landing page where you can sign up to our newsletter to be alerted of when this course is being rolled out. So check out www.learn.eugeniekruger.com to sign up. So that's learn.eugeniekruger.com to sign up. So that newsletter is specifically for any upcoming courses. If you want to just join my general newsletter, then just go to eugeniekruger.com and you can sign up to that newsletter there. So there'll be two different ones. And if you're not interested in courses, if you just go to my main page, eugeniekruger.com, sign up to that newsletter, we won't bother you with the course stuff. The other project I'm excited about are various summits that I'm going to be bringing you based around a specific health topic. So I hope to bring in experts from various modalities to really help us grasp a truly holistic view of how we can help our clients. So do keep an eye out for that as well. And something else I have been dreaming about doing for a very long time is to publish a book about all the amazing guests and topics that we've featured on the Homeopathy Hangout podcast. There's been some incredible gems of information that our incredible guests have sprinkled throughout the past 3 years and 300 episodes. And I'd love to put it all together as a resource which we can all refer to. So do watch the space. And if one day I finally manage to pull this off, there will definitely be a book launch party, because I've been dreaming of doing this since we reached our first 100 episodes. But I figure maybe if I just tell you all about it, you'll hassle me enough that I'll actually get my A into G and do it. And another dream that I have is of creating a membership where I can share the information that I've been gathering over the past 3 years of running the podcast and the past 10 years of running a very successful homeopathic practice, where I've been averaging 1,000 consultations every year for the past 4 years. And I'm currently on track to do the same amount this year as well. So when you see that amount of people, you definitely learn a thing or two. And I would really love to share that knowledge with all of you. I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for the wonderful teachers I have had over the years. And this is where I just want to give a quick shout out to CHE, the Centre for Homeopathic Education in the UK. I have been doing my professional development with them for 5 years, and their lecturers are amazing. So thank you to the giants whose shoulders we all stand on and who have so generously passed on their knowledge to all of us. And I really hope that I can be of service in the same way by passing on what I have learned, all the while still being aware of the fact that every day I feel like I don't know anything and I'll never know all there is to know about this amazing healing art we call homeopathy. I have also had several students reach out to me about mentoring, so that's something I would like to do as well, possibly in group settings of some sort. I've had a dream for the past 8 years also of creating a free online homeopathic clinic. We even registered the domain name for this project several years ago. So there is no shortage of ideas. If you want to be one of the first to know about any of my harebrained schemes that actually come to reality, like I said, do sign up for my newsletter at eugeniekruger.com. And if you want to know just about the courses specifically, then go to learn.eugeniekruger.com. And while you're at my website, do go check out our amazing homeopathic kits. We have a one-of-a-kind pouch kit. I have never seen this anywhere else in the world. These kits can clip to your handbag and even the belt loop of your pants when you're out hiking, and it makes it super easy to take with you wherever you go. We also have double-layered labels on many of the remedies, so you can peel back the top layer to reveal more information underneath. I have not seen this anywhere in the world either, so I really do believe that we are a world first. So yeah, I'm super proud of these gorgeous kits. It has taken years to create the product that we now have, which I believe is truly unique and absolutely gorgeous. This is something I'd love to wholesale to more homeopaths around the world, because I believe every homeopath should have remedies and kits available for their clients to purchase on the spot. And also, while you're on my website, please do go and meet Eugénie, our artificial intelligence bot. She can answer any of your acute homeopathy questions. You'll find her in the bottom right-hand corner of my website. Once again, huge kudos to my IT guru hubby, who was behind the creation of Eugénie. We've already had so many messages from people around the world thanking us for Jeannie's help as she was able to pick the correct remedy for their acute complaint 24/7 free of charge. I realize many people are against the use of AI, but if you can give a mother a tool that will instantly tell her which remedy to give her sick child free of charge, 3 a.m. in the morning, surely that has got to be a good thing. And while I'm on the topic of AI and technology, now is the time more so than ever in history when people with very little experience can come across as seemingly being experts, especially on platforms such as social media, where it's really easy to just have a soundbite here and there with a few well-curated images and audios to make it seem like somebody knows what they're talking about. Unfortunately, homeopathy is not free from this facade. The last few years, I have been saying that a homeopathic revolution is coming, and now it is well and truly here. Every single day, I'm seeing more accounts popping up on Instagram with random people calling themselves homeopaths after only a few months of online courses. As wonderful as it is that so many people around the world are finally embracing homeopathy, it's also very scary that anyone can think it's okay to call themselves a homeopath after doing just a few hours of sitting in on some Zoom calls. Many of these people have only learned the basics of using protocol prescribing, and I really shudder to think about the Pandora's box they're opening with thinking it's okay to only practice homeopathy in this way. There are also so many people teaching homeopathy these days without ever having had a successful busy practice themselves. So while there's nothing wrong with learning from people who don't have much clinical practice themselves, personally, I prefer learning from people who have been in the trenches and have walked the walk. So with all of that, I'm just trying to say that if you're going to spend your hard-earned money learning homeopathy, make sure you're learning from somebody who has got a busy, thriving clinical practice, and they're not only teaching because they couldn't get their own clinic up and running. I'm sorry if that sounds really judgy. I was really hesitant about putting it out there. I may still edit it out if I change my mind, but I do feel it's something that needs to be said because there's so many courses and products and things being sold out there from people who are not properly qualified homeopaths and haven't been in the trenches and haven't walked the walk. So I do feel it's something that does need to be said, just for those that are not aware of this. And this goes the same for the patients as well. Make sure you find a homeopath who is properly qualified. Ask about their qualifications, where they studied and for how long. Ask about the amount of clinic hours they had to complete before qualifying and if they're engaged in any ongoing professional development. If you're going to spend good money seeing a practitioner, you deserve to know whether they are properly qualified. I've been seeing dozens of people on Instagram offering homeopathic immunization packages upwards of $900. Not even Dr. Isaac Golden, who created homeopathic immunization over 30 years ago, charges that ridiculous of an amount. This is really damaging to the profession when people are charging that much without a proper qualification. It's become harder and harder for me to stay quiet about this because this is massively going to backfire if these improperly trained people continue to be allowed to advertise themselves as homeopaths and treating chronic conditions with only protocols. So while I'm being a bit ranty, this past week on 7 News, there was a news report of babies ending up in hospital because of poisoning symptoms from a colic medicine containing belladonna. No brand names were given in the report, but the reporter stated that symptoms include flushing, dilated pupils, and drowsiness, and that parents should go straight to the emergency room if they're concerned and if their product contains an ingredient called belladonna. The comments on the news report were limited to only 17 comments, and of those, most of them were asking what the brand names were, but without any answer, and no brand name was mentioned in the news report, just the word belladonna, which, of course, anybody who's ever used homeopathics will be a little bit frightened when they hear that. So one person mentioned the brand Wilby's, which is based in Victoria, Australia. And it so happened that one of my clients had a bottle of this colic medicine and sent me a photo of the ingredients. And it turns out it's actual belladonna tincture with dill oil and sodium citrate. So it's not a homeopathic version of belladonna. It's the actual mother tincture. So, of course, this is going to be yet another hit for homeopathy because nobody's going to ask if this news report is about the tincture which is not homeopathic, or if it's an actual homeopathic remedy, because most people don't know the difference. So it's another hit for homeopathy, unfortunately. But if any of you are listening to this podcast and you're new to homeopathy and you're wondering about this news report, and I just want to say that you can safely use your homeopathic belladonna on your child without any concerns of poisoning. And while I'm in ranty mode, my last little ranty rant is that I've noticed an increase in kinesiologists who test their clients for various homeopathic remedies. Now, I love kinesiologists and I often refer my clients to them, so please don't get me wrong. But if I'm prescribing remedies for a client after an hour and a half consultation, and with 10 years of clinical practice and 4 years of study behind me, and then they go and take these remedies to their kinesiologist, who then tests them and says not to take it or to only take half of it, and then my client comes back 6 to 8 weeks later and wonder why they haven't had an improvement, I think I'm in my rights to be slightly annoyed. I've even had a kinesiologist reach out to me on social media recently after muscle testing her remedies on herself, and then ended up giving herself a massive aggravation, and she wanted to know how she can stop the aggravation. So I just want to make it clear again, kinesiology is amazing. It's something I personally would actually love to study. But I just want to say that if your homeopath has done a prescription for you, give it an honest chance and take it as they've prescribed. And if you have any issues or feel that you'd like to take your remedies in a different way, just let your homeopath know. If you are taking it to somebody else who hasn't taken the case history that we have, or who doesn't have the proper homeopathic qualifications, then you're probably wasting your money. Either choose one or the other, or don't have one interfere with the other one's prescription. That's just all I wanted to say in that ranty rant. So this is a little bit of a random episode. If I haven't warned you about it already, you're halfway through already, so you might as well keep going now. But there's some things that I really believe can make a big difference in people's lives. And one of it is I'm just so passionate about empowering our children to be in tune with their own bodies and educate them on the symptoms their bodies are giving them and how they can use this to know whether their body needs some help or not. A really simple way of doing this is to print out the Bristol stool chart, and you can just go on Google, type in Bristol stool chart, print it out in color, and also print out the urine chart in color, and put both of them up on your toilet wall so that your children can compare their poos and their wees to the chart to see if what's coming out is healthy or not. As our children become more independent with their toileting, often around age 3 or 4, it can be really hard to know if they're having a regular and healthy bowel motions if you're not wiping their bottoms. So it becomes even more important to educate them on the importance of this. Alongside the Bristol stool chart, you can also put up a calendar so your younger kiddies can mark on it what days they've had a bowel motion and what number it was on the stool chart. Speaking of bowel motions, any new homeopaths listening to this, we need some homeopaths who niche in the area of constipation. You'll have more patients than you can ever know what to do with. This is a really huge area and it needs loads and loads of attention because there are so many people suffering from constipation these days. So another random thing that I want to have a quick chat about is how much I am loving doing the oligo scans in my clinic. Since interviewing John Gamble in October last year on episode 223, I have been using this in my clinic. I've done over 100 scans. Now, OligoScan uses spectrophotometry, I still can't say it properly, to scan the palm of your hand and then give you the client's heavy metal, mineral, and vitamin status based on their height, weight, and blood type. This technology is well accepted in Europe as a diagnostic tool, but in Australia, we're not allowed to advertise that we do this, and it's not accepted as a diagnostic tool, which is a real shame because it has been so helpful in my clinical practice. I've done, like I said, over 100 scans now, and I'm just completing a course on interpreting diagnostic data, which is based on how we can better interpret the results from the Oligo scan. And I hope to have Irene, who I'm doing the course with, on the podcast soon as well. I love that I can get results within seconds with doing the scan, so there's no need to send things off and wait for weeks. It's all instantaneous, which means I can give my clients a treatment plan on the spot. So if this hasn't been enough of a hodgepodge random podcast, I have a few more things I want to add. Just basically my top 10 easy peasy basic things that you can do right now to support your health. Please don't drink tap water, especially if your town uses fluoridation. Fluoride is a neurotoxin, and we're not even talking about all the other crap you'll find in regular tap water. Invest in a good quality filtering system that removes fluoride and remineralizes your water as well. In our clinic and at home, we use reverse osmosis because that's the only way to completely remove all the fluoride. But this does create dead water, so we then put the reverse osmosis through a Zazen filter to remineralize and restructure our water. The number one best thing you can do for your health right now, that also happens to be free, is to get to bed earlier. If you do nothing else for your health, just get to bed 10 p.m. at the very latest. That sleep before midnight is very restorative and super important for your body to rest and heal while you're sleeping. I'm always surprised how many of my clients tell me that they don't get to bed until midnight, and then they're surprised why they're tired and they don't have any energy and they've got chronic illness. Just get to bed earlier. If you can even do 9, that's even better. But really, that sleep before midnight is so restorative. Number 3, please throw away your Bluetooth headphones. I die a little inside every time I see somebody wearing Bluetooth headphones, and it's almost too much to bear when I see children with Bluetooth headphones. We are going to see a massive increase in brain cancers if this insistence on using Bluetooth headphones continues. There's definitely not enough research done on this yet, but it should be common sense that having a Bluetooth device plugged in your ears with your brain in the middle is not a good idea. I recently saw a local chiropractor wearing Bluetooth headphones while speaking on his Instagram page. I called him out on it and he admitted he knew it was bad, but that he's only using it for a short period, which is not really the point. If you're a health professional and you're wearing Bluetooth headphones, then the general public sees that and they think it's safe to wear. They don't know you're only using it for a short period of time, which, by the way, is too long anyway. Number 4, throw away your antiperspirants. Your body needs to sweat to detox. Using an antiperspirant, which actually contains aluminium to stop your body sweating, is like plugging up your butthole to stop your body from pooping. I'm sorry for the visual, but that really is what it is. Sooner or later, you're going to pay the price for preventing your body from doing what it naturally needs to do to stay healthy. So let's normalize and celebrate sweat. It is great. Number 5, please throw away your synthetic perfumes. They are major endocrine disruptors. If you have thyroid dysfunctions, issues with your menstrual cycle, or you can't lose weight, then it's even more important that you get rid of any synthetic fragrances in your home. Number 6, please don't heat your food in plastic, and preferably don't store it in plastic either. This is another major endocrine disruptor, especially as the removal of BPA from plastics is not mandatory in all countries. Number 7, follow some of the low tox accounts on Instagram and Facebook, such as Alex Stewart's Low Tox Life account, to learn more about how you can reduce toxicity in your home. Number 8, practice gratitude every single day. A few months ago, we started a great habit in our family where on the way to school, we each have to say something that we're grateful for. Gratitude is not an automatic thing for some people, and it might take some practice. So put a reminder on your phone daily or a post-it note on your mirror to remind yourself to list off at least a few things every single day for which you're grateful for. Number 9, turn your Wi-Fi off at night and reduce your screen time. Your mental, physical, and spiritual health will thank you for it. Number 10, don't be fooled by social media. Many of the people you see on social media who seem to be living the perfect lives with their perfect partners and their perfect bodies are the same people who see us in clinic for their depression, their body issues, and their partners cheating on them. Every single one of us, myself included, have our own shit to deal with. So don't be fooled for one single second that there is a single person on this planet who has it all figured out. If you think they do, it just means that they are better at editing than you. So give yourself a pat on the back. The fact you're alive, listening to this right now, is a gift. Make the most of it. And that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed my random ramblings and that there's at least one useful thing you've managed to take away from it. If not, you've just wasted 38 minutes and 30 seconds of your time, and I don't give any refunds. Sorry. So if you'd like to support my work, please do consider making a donation. It's super easy. Just go to www.eugeniekruger.com and click the donate button at the top. Every donation of $10 and above gets you a shout out on a future episode. And please do come and join me in our Facebook group. So just type in Homeopathy Hangout on Facebook and our group will come up, or the direct link is facebook.com/groups/Hello Homies. And that's it for me for episode 300. Whoa, the crowd goes wild. Thank you so much for letting me hang out in your ear holes, and all the best of health and happiness to you and your family.